Hey dorks, just a quick message reminding you to head over to twitch.tv/mindgappodcast and give us a follow. We live stream when we record our new podcast episodes, and we're live streaming video game sessions on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We're playing super rad stuff like Among Us, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, Jackbox games, and Tabletop Simulator. Come hang out and play along with us. That's twitch.tv/mindgappodcast.
Mind Gap Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
And joining us back again to join us on this week is the one and only Mr. Tex from the Black Pants Legion.
I am here, and I exist in a time and space of your choosing. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, Tex, it's been too long, and we're so happy to have you back. But absolute
No
pleasure.
problem.
And
No problem.
I said this
My
before
pleasure.
we went live, but I want to say it again for everyone to know. Your Throwdown voiceover, it's been a hit. It's been a real hit, and we're excited. There it was. It was great. It was so nice because last time, we're like, dude, your voice, it's phenomenal. You're like, do you want me to record anything? We're like, could you do the Throwdown? You're like, sure. And immediately you're like, here you go, guys. We're like, yes.
It's going to be real meta today to do the Throwdown song and hear Tex on the recording immediately followed by Tex.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be very meta.
I'm the only guy who's cooler than me.
The only one person cooler than me is me.
I'm the only man enough to shit these pants. Let's do this.
Oh,
If
this is
Doug had a
awesome.
nickel for every time he said that.
Yep.
No.
Or just
No. No
Hey,
nickels.
man, you do you, baby.
Hey,
You
man.
do you.
Whatever, yeah. Stay at home, stay away from people. That's cool. Whatever you're going to do, man. Before we get started tonight, just a little bit of a couple announcements. First things first, if you don't already, please follow us on Spotify. We are available everywhere else you get your podcast, but don't forget to check us out on Spotify. Also, come check out our Discord server on our Twitch page, twitch.tv/mindgappodcast. Down in the About section, you'll see a little box that says Discord. Click on that button. Come on over to the Mind Gap community. Come hang out with us. We post silly memes. We group up for games, which has been, I can't say it enough, it's been one of the best things. And I always wanted to have a solid gamer group in my life. And I haven't had it until I turned 37. So I'm 38 now. I'm just, backdating it a year. But like once we started doing this, and like, yeah, I'm still young. But it's like all this time people are like, yeah, I've got my core group of friends that I play games with. And we all get the game. We all play it. I'm like, man, I wonder what that's like. I play all these multiplayers by myself. And I'm like, man, it'd be great to have a group of people instead of playing pickup games with people who yell racist stuff and make me feel bad. So
Yeah, I'm the only guy allowed to write racist. Anyways.
But, so it's great. And it was so awesome just because people were like, hey, I'm playing this. And we group up and we play. We got full 6 people to play Overwatch. It's awesome. It's so much fun. So come hang out with us. It's great. We have a good time. We're silly, easygoing. Come check us out. Also, we have merch available at redbubble.com. Just head over to Redbubble. Type in Mind Gap Podcast. You'll see our stuff. We've got our classic logo, plus the I Will Haunt Your Butt logo as well. We've got all sorts of wonderful stuff. Get yourself something nice and support the podcast while you're at it. And last but not least, every Saturday night, we stream a live video game stream on twitch.tv/mindgappodcast. Last week was a real sleeper. I didn't think it was going to be much, but we played Spyfall on Tabletop Simulator, and holy shit, that was one of the best streams. I had one of the best times. It was so much fun. We pretty much just abandoned the rules of the game and just leaned into role-playing our characters and had a hell of a time. And it was so much fun. I'm like, that is going to go into a rotation. We will be doing that on the regular because that was an absolute blast. We got a couple of highlights and clips up on our channel, so you can come check that out. And also, special thanks to everyone who was dropping subs, especially Wolf's Lore. He gifted 10 subs. We had
Nice.
Married with Gaming. We had Clarissa, we had Noah, We had Castwave Studios. We had Sirloin. I'm going to forget people. I shouldn't have started doing this. This is what it's like to win an Oscar and you forget naming people.
Slotty and Jervis.
Slotty and Jervis. Yes, those. Thank you. People were donating. We got a hype train going and it was awesome. It was wonderful.
Zenny.
Metronome, Zenny, like all of you. Thank you so much. It was awesome. It was a really good moment to be like, oh, this is pretty cool. It was a really good, great celebration of the community. So thank you all for that. But enough of that. Also, this Saturday, we're going to be playing Among Us because the new map is out. So,
oh, shit.
We got a new map, so we're going to try it out this Saturday, 8 p.m. Central, twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast. So come check that out. But enough about that. Joining us, like we said, is Mr. Tex of the Black Pants Legion. Sir, you are prolific, and we are honored to have you here with us. Before we get started, prolific.
Is the best word you can use.
Prolific, sir. Prolific. And
You
before we
do
get started,
many things.
you do so many things. And before we get started, we'll do this again at the end of the podcast. But please, if you have anything you'd like to like promote or shout out or anything, please let's do it at the top, and we'll also do it again at the back end. So please, whatever you got, let's put it out there.
The BPL has a podcast. We have one goal, to be the number one BPL podcast. So fuck you, Berkley Public Library. We're number one. We have beaten them off the boards. We have a better rating than them. And I am a librarian by education. So this feels well on so many levels. Mediocrity. The BPL is a podcast. We talk about a lot of shit about filmmaking, nerddom, and what have you. And we're on all the other, we're everywhere. And then we've got we're working on another big Tex Talks Battletech film. Another one of them feature-length documentaries, forays into nerddom that we're working on right now. And that should be about it. Oh, and I bought a machine gun. That about catches you up to where we are now. Legal paperwork. Yes.
Let's start there. What's that like?
Well, when you're a kid and you watch like cartoons and you're like, man, I wish I could play with dynamite, or I wish I could, drive the car off the cliff and have it smash, or all the other cartoon stuff. And you can't do a lot of those. It's inadvisable. It's not that you can, you shouldn't. But
sure,
as it turns out, machine guns are legal. It's just a matter of paperwork, like most things. And so I was like, me want machine gun. And they were like, do you know what you have to do? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, do you have a checkbook? And I said, yeah.
Go on.
Yes. So it's about as much fun you can have indoors. And I am counting all sorts of intramural sports in that category. It's fan-fucking-tastic. It's definitely a bucket item list. I mean, it's more fun than most drugs.
There you go. It's
that's saying something.
Slotty says, how long until a flamethrower?
Well, I need land first. I need some land before I do that, because like flamethrowers are on that list of like more dangerous to other people. Because like if you're at a gun range and you miss the target, it hits the wall. No big deal. No big deal. Flamethrower, you miss your target, national problem. Like front page news. Man with flamethrower XYZ. That is how you end up in newspapers.
You know what I'm hearing is that there's a market open for a flame range.
I'm just
saying, like, how nice if you just had it's steel on both sides, and it's just that flame goes right down the range, and you can put all sorts of matter down there that you'd like to incinerate. Whatever you'd like to burn.
Yeah, just whatever.
Hey, hey, Justin, I want to do. Let's go hang out tonight, man. You want to do like some axe throwing? I like doing some axe throwing.
That's not intense enough for me.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, I mean, there's a gun range I know of. Maybe we could go.
It's too controlled. I don't like it.
I mean, Come on, man. I mean, I hear they've got all sorts of submachine guns and stuff. You can upgrade and get those.
I'll tell you what I want to do.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to go to the flame range.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah.
I want to go to Dashboard Hibachi.
And here to tell you about the flame range is the proprietor, Mr. Tex.
Mr. Tex, tell us all about it.
We here at Dashboard Hibachi believe in your Second Amendment right to wound yourself and others at the same time.
I love that so
Can't
much.
even finish that.
I love that
But
so
no,
much.
I mean, you could hang up. You could you could have one end that's a petting zoo, right, and you have the other end that's a flame range. And if any of the animals bite, that you know what's going to happen.
Also,
Because someone will be like, yeah, and then so it's like, oh, it's time to retire it, and then.
hey, so this one is it's family friendly. Bring your kids. They go to the petting zoo, and then also it's a smokehouse. So when the animals are done,
right.
So
what
it's
I'm
great.
hearing is we've got a 3-pronged business approach here.
This is a triple threat, gentlemen.
This is a money maker.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a straight up money maker. Give it to me.
Waste not, want not. You
Right.
know what I mean? Yeah.
It's an animal retirement kebab party.
Oh my God. We are going to be so fucking rich.
Mary with
Location,
Gaming, thanks so
location,
much for the resub, man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's awesome. You know what I think is also funny about flamethrowers, because I used to see that depicted a lot in films, right? That, especially I know they probably did exist in like World War II and things like that. But that seemed like a really dangerous and somewhat, I'm sure it was somewhat effective, but one bullet to that or whatever, that seems like it would they be pretty devastating.
Tend to become externally pyrotechnic, yes. Because flamethrower guy was always probably like the last guy to wake up. Everyone's like, oh, I'm machine gun guy, oh, I'm rifle guy, and some guy's like, hey, what are you? Zippo. And he's like, fuck.
And no one wanted to ride with him. Yeah, everyone thought it was cool. First, everyone wants to be him, and then they're like, wait, this guy could explode and kill all of us, so everyone just stays away from him.
Right.
Well, and I hate to be the historian here, but in World War II, the Russians realized that was a problem. So what they did was they made the flamethrower wand have a wooden stock on it. So at range, it looked like he was carrying a rifle with an enormous backpack on.
Interesting.
So, the Krauts would be sitting there looking through the scope and be like, why does this guy have this tank on his back? And it's like, maybe he's just spraying for insects.
Hey man, it's hot coffee. All right, people need coffee. Right? It's wartime, but you got to have your comforts from home.
Yeah. Oh, he must have the urine tank on his back. Don't shoot him.
Yeah. Oh, he has to. He's. God. Yeah. No. It would have talking about shit jobs in the army. Flamethrower guy.
Right.
It's just like you never hear war stories about that guy. You always hear the war story about like I charged up the hill. You don't hear about the guy who's like I burned shit.
Yeah.
Right.
I burned shit. I was the only one to make it out alive. Everyone else exploded.
I was the last man standing.
Anything within 30 yards, I took out. But long range, don't put me in.
Yeah, that's
they startled me while sleeping once and burned them all. And I came home to fulfill my dream of owning up a petting zoo.
Yes. Frito says flaming axe range and flamethrower emporium.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And trampoline park.
Well, of course.
Naturally.
I remember they used to have when I was kids those gymnasiums where they would have like indoor trampoline stuff.
Yes.
They'd have like fucking garage door springs on that. You'd see people taking their kids and like whipping them off a 2-story boundary and they're just hitting the ground and like going into the ceiling. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
Man, regulations killed all the fun.
Right?
Yeah, I know, right?
It's crazy because there's this family that lives behind me, and they have like 5 kids, and they have this play set in their backyard, and I watch and I just see the kids doing wild shit. Like they just like to stand on the very top of these wooden beams with their arms crossed, looking like Peter Pan. And I was like, dude, that's gotta be like 10 or 12 feet, and this kid's just standing up there, arms crossed. I'm like, get down! Like you're gonna fall. You're gonna hurt yourself. But I remember doing that shit as a kid too. Like I would just
my dad would usually look at kids doing shit like that. He's like, stand here, watch this. That'll learn them. That was the phrase. That'll learn them.
Yeah.
That'll learn them.
Yeah, that's the best lessons I ever learned. It was like I can only tell my kid to be careful so many times. At some point I'm like, you know what? Smash your head,
right.
Within reason, okay?
Well, yeah, everyone gets free one because like when you're a kid, you can get away with stuff like thinking, oh, what's this weird thing in the wall? Is this a key cleaner? And you put it in there, and then you come to with like blistered fingers. You're like, your dad's like, no, it's a wall socket.
Yeah, don't do that.
That'll learn you.
Right.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, there's a lot of those moments where I'm like, at some point I just gotta let it happen because you gotta learn. You gotta learn today. Learn today.
Yeah, you gotta learn that shit.
Gotta learn that shit. So, Mr. Tex, how is your podcast going? What's new?
It's new. We've had it about a year. We found out that if you put stuff on Anchor FM, people can call in. So that's been a guilty pleasure. So we'll have people call in and we like take questions, and
that is awesome.
That is interesting because not all questions are equal. Some are we've had to start screening them.
All right. Give me an example of a really good question and a really bad question.
The really bad one was the people who thought we were the Berkley Public Library. Because the embarrassing part is I can actually answer those questions because I am a reference librarian by training. So I'm like, well, the section you're looking is in the 700s and this isn't a fucking library. And then the really good questions is just the thought-provoking stuff people come up with while high, because high ideas are that window into crazy imagination.
Sure.
Because you take any of us and we'll just walk around and we'll have our little inane thoughts, our little shower thoughts, right? And we'll think they're really clever till about we get to work. And then we get to work and we're like, hey, I had this idea in the shower. And as soon as it starts coming out of your mouth, you realize it's not smart. And nobody gives a fuck. And you're just like, oh, yeah, I'll just shut up and walk back to my desk. But ideas are a magical thing. They come from that realm of like dreams and stuff. And they're some of the most clever, dumb shit you will ever think of that you would never be brave enough to think out loud. And so you'll hear people doing bong rips and then come up and be like, hey, man, like, what if in the middle of Star Trek, like when people were talking to Kirk, he just started belting them in the face. And I'm like, yeah, that would be really dynamic, don't you think? You're just sitting there watching Star Trek and the guy's like, Captain, we can't. You just like,
and pull yourself together.
Yeah. And I was like, that wouldn't be out of place in the 60s either, would it?
No, not at all.
No, I would really be like, I'd watch that version. Some good
actually, that brings up a good point. In a lot of the movies, you saw people who were frantic and then they would just slap him. They're like, pull yourself together. I don't think that's a really good way to get people to calm down.
Has that ever worked in real life?
It probably didn't, like World War II, and
when that flamethrower guy woke up, you had to smack him around a little bit. Yeah.
Burn him, Joes. Because he wasn't in the army to do anything else. But the other thing you really see a lot of is in those 50s and 60s things, they'd be like, oh, he's hysterical, give him a shot. And they'll just like give him a spray, or they give him a pill, a calm down pill or something. And you're like, did you just hit him with some like benzos or something?
Take this pill, make sure to have a snack, it'll work faster through your system, okay?
Yeah, just be like, hey, here's 50 less IQ points. Don't freak out.
No, I know what you mean. Like, I don't. I've never done or imbibed the marijuana, but I understand that it lowers, some inhibitions, and people go to creative places, man. And the idea that they're.
But, it's that's why they call them jazz cigarettes. People just make you a little groovy, not too crazy. But. It's not like people banging heroin in their arm and calling in and being like, what if and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, cocaine would be a bad one too. Like, hey, text. I got this idea. You ready? Okay, here's the thing. Star Trek, all right? But it's in the same universe as Star Wars.
No, thanks. I've already seen J.J. Abrams take on it.
On both.
Yeah. It's J.J. Abrams. What if you had Star Trek but brighter?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, sweet, awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. I didn't realize that was a feature of Anchor. That's really cool that you get a chance. to do that.
Use it at your own peril.
Right. It comes with its own set of caveats, but yeah.
That's pretty neat.
It's open a door into your, people's lives, but
Yeah.
be careful. Have a hand on it.
So in general, like, for the folks who've never listened to the BPL podcast, like what you talk about, you mentioned some nerdy stuff, but like what are some of the stuff that you guys talk about on there?
We bitch about everything. We bitch about RPGs, nerddom, games, movies, films. We play the movie game a lot. We have two versions of the movie game. One is very subtle. It's a really good creative exercise for improv. And one version of the movie game is you take a movie you like and you challenge someone else who loves that same movie to change it. So you go, make Star Wars 100% worse. And they have to change it in one way. I don't mean change it in 1,000 ways. One choice to make it 1,000% worse. Recast one character, replace one key part to completely change it. So like you take Star Wars 4, A New Hope. All right, make it 1,000% worse. Okay, the score is Danny Elfman.
I am in love with this
All right,
game.
we're gonna play right now. I want to do a round.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's do.
Well, let me ask you, can you only go worse or can you go better?
Oh, you can make it better. You can take a movie that
okay.
everyone knows is awful and fix it.
Got
The idea is to see how you could change one thing, because it's easy to say something sucks. It's hard to make something better. It's hard to make something worse.
All right, Justin. The movie with oh my god, I can't. The dude that's like, I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
The Room.
The Room. Justin, make it better.
Kill Tommy Wiseau. Next.
I can make it better.
Let's go.
Just by simple recasting.
Okay.
Simple recasting. Tommy Wiseau, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh.
Same script, same everything.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So
similar accent.
Yeah, but much better.
I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi,
Mark. I did not hit her. I did not. How's it going? Hello, doggy. These roses are my favorite.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Yeah. I mean, it would add so much to the movie.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's do one more. I want to do one more.
Oh, I would love that. Doug.
Yeah.
BVS.
Okay, make it better.
Make it 1,000% better.
1,000% better. Right. Easy one. Recast Jesse Eisenberg. Have it be Jeff Bridges. Have him be like the Iron Man, character.
Like Obadiah?
Obadiah, but as Lex Luthor.
All right. Yeah, I can see that.
And he obviously doesn't make the same acting choices.
No. I mean, I think that's the movie game is really bold because it allows you to really reimagine stuff. Like, changing directors does a lot.
Yeah.
So,
and you were right with composers too, right? Like you switch that stuff out. That's huge.
Danny Elfman Star Wars. I mean, it sounded like Beetlejuice, So it'd be and you'd be like, oh my god, what is this shit? What is this?
It'd be like all the Cantina music throughout the entire.
It would be Cantina
movie.
Music the whole time. It would just be like, and you'd just be like, what is this nonsense?
Tex, I want you to make 1,000% worse the Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, all right. Andy Dufresne played by Carrot Top.
You win.
Correct.
That's a correct answer.
I was gonna say Jim Carrey, but you tell him it's a comedy and you shoot his scenes separate from everyone else.
So it's like liar, like over the top, but it's like,
he's just shooting the scenery.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm digging a hole.
Jared wrote, he said, no rain at the end of the tunnel. Like, that's what you change?
Yeah.
So he's just walking away in shit.
Yeah.
Covered in shit.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Like,
That
well,
works.
his plan didn't work out because he was covered in shit. So it completely ruins the whole movie. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
we get it. So it's a shitty ending. Thank you, sir. Boo
Yeah,
that
but
man. Boo
that's the
that
thing.
man.
It's like it's taking bad ideas and putting them in a cocktail mixer.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
The other movie game we play on the podcast is we will sit around and write down. Are you guys familiar with Canon Films, the filmmakers? They were a huge movie studio, Golden Globus Productions in the 80s.
Did they do
These guys
Masters of the
would-
Universe?
Yeah,
Okay.
they'd make like 70 films a year.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, where like most other Hollywood studios would like make a film in 12 months, these guys would make like 70 films a year. So here's how they do this is they would make up a poster for a film that doesn't exist with stars that are not signed to it.
This
They
sounds
would
like an
keep
improv
that-
game. This sounds like something we would
Okay.
do at Second City.
Yeah, so what they do is they would go take that and then they go to their financiers and they would go, here's the movie we want to make. And they'd go, I'd buy this, or I'm not interested in buying that. And then they'd go make that movie. So it's not technically fraud, but it's very fraudulent-ish. And they made an assload of movies like that. So and they were really famous for just making the really schlocky shit. And some of their shit was brilliant. Some of it was awful, but a lot of it was very cheap, very, very cheap filmmaking. So what we do is we sit around and we choose a theme like 80s movies, 70s movies, monster movies, and we write down movie titles that just sound absolutely absurd. And then we all sit around and try to describe the movie like it's an actual movie.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we came up with the Knife Fight City Extended Cinematic Universe, which is our golden marquee. And the intro to the whole thing is, in the far distant year of 2008, when the UN banned all guns, people fight in the streets with knives. Or even we even came up with a theme song where it's like Knife Fight City, and it's really stupid.
Oh, it was
amazing.
That reminds me. What was it? There was years ago. Someone made a YouTube video that looked like a bad _80s action flick, and they eventually was so like prolific and viral that they actually made a movie based on it. I can't remember what the name of it all. I'm doing terrible with that.
Kung Fury.
That's what it was. Kung Fury. Yes, it was ridiculous. They made this trailer for this movie that didn't exist, and people were like, "You have to make this movie," and they did.
That's what we're in for. We just love doing dumb stuff, and we'll make dumb stuff until we die. I think we've all reached that agreement, that tacit agreement.
Yeah. It warms my heart because you're doing what you love,
Well, nobody else is doing what I like as much as me, which is a good sign, because it's one bad thing to look outside of your window and go, God, I wish I could be that. And there's some things you like. There's some things you will not achieve. Like, I think I'm probably never going to play Major League Baseball. I'm a bit old. I'm a bit out of shape. The shoulders click on their own. They don't need help. I'm probably not going to win the lottery. I'm probably not going to get married. There's a few things that have probably sailed those things. But there are some things I do that I look at myself and go, I like what I do so much. I can't imagine anyone else doing it better than me.
That's awesome.
That's a great place to fucking be.
And that's where you need to be as a creator. Because like when people are like, oh, I want to be a creator, I'm like, well, why? And they're like, I want to be famous. And I'm like, that's dumb. Being famous sucks, because as soon as people start looking at you, they change you.
Mm-hmm.
They start looking at you, and if you want to ever see that, watch a show that has a really good, successful first season when they thought it was going to be a one-off, and watch when it comes back on the air. Watch what happens to it.
It's so true. We talk about that, with Lost, right? That was a show that was supposed to be like 3 seasons, and it was 6. because it was so popular. They just stretched it out, and they're like, you watch it sort of fall apart. And success has a way of doing that. Success has a way of,
It's better to do a damn good job for 12 people than a really shitty job for 1 million people. My granddad said that every day, and he described that as, when he was a kid, you would have people on your local radio station, and they'd be on the same radio station their whole fucking lives. They'd never leave the county they grew up in, and they loved what they did. They knew what the music was, they knew what the people were, and they talked about what they did with a passion, and they loved what they did. And he says, the way you go wrong in media is when you try to appeal to the next 10 people, the next 10 people, the next 10 people, the next 10 people. Because if you're constantly searching for a larger audience, you'll find one, but you will never find what you're looking for.
Right.
No, that's so true.
If I want to be famous on YouTube, all I have to do is follow an algorithm and believe in nothing but greed. And as soon as I demean myself, I can do that. As soon as I'm willing to do those things, is then I would be unhappy with what I made. And the one thing is like, in creativity, once you start selling yourself, you can't buy that back. Yeah. It's gone forever.
It's so true.
That is a currency that once you trade in, it's gone. It's like selling a company's shares at a penny stock. And then when they become $1,000 shares, you're like, I need that back. You're not getting it back. It's gone. Right.
No, that's so true, because there's obviously, I would love our podcast to be large enough to reach an audience that obviously enjoys what we do, right? We would love to be subsistence enough where we're like, hey, we're going to build our own studio and we're going to do more fun stuff doing that. But I'm with you. Like, I'd rather, I've seen some people talk about growth, whether it's their podcast or their Twitch channel and things like that, and they're trying really, really hard to kind of like get that partner level. I'm like, look, man, I just want to play games, do our podcast, and I would prefer it to be with the people that want to be here. Like, I don't, if more people show up, great. As long as you're on board with what we're doing, cool. But I'm not here to being like, I don't know, it's just weird where people come by, they're like, hey man, follow for a follow. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I mean,
you're like, I don't fucking know you.
Yeah, I don't know you.
Right.
And when I go to your channel, I'm like, you're kind of a dude, bro, and that doesn't really work with me. And I feel gross having this sort of exchange of like, we're just padding our numbers. I'm like, to what end? Like, it's
right. It's like someone showing up to you and trying to convince you that hey man, you give me half your sandwich and I give you half my sandwich. And you're like, no, I like my sandwich the way it is.
I bet yours
I
has
would like
onions
my
on
whole
it,
fucking sandwich. It's mine.
No, I agree.
I made it the way I wanted to eat it. Yeah. This is what I like.
Yeah. Leave me alone.
But I think that's like, Doug and I have spent 5.5 years building. We have a small but very mighty fan base, and it's
that's
not
all you need, brother.
And that's it. Like, it's the people who are fans of our show know what we do, and we're not trying to your point, not trying to like change it and go, okay, well, this other show's doing this thing, so we need to do that too because they have more followers than we do, or more listeners, or whatever. It's, there was a quote that I heard one time. It was, build your stage, your audience is waiting for it.
Well, right. And it's like, if you want to see bad comedy, if you want to see like really bad comedy, like bad, go to Las Vegas and watch a big stage of comedians where all they have to do, the effort's very low. They show up, they tell the same jokes they've always told. They walk off, big money. There's no effort. You want to go see good fucking comedy? Go watch a guy kill in a house that has 4 seats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Where he has to make every single person in that fucking room laugh and love him.
I've heard countless stories of comedians who were doing those late night shows at 1 a.m, and the comedians that were sort of like really held at a high pedestal were the ones that like they could kill whether there's 10 people in a room or 200. Like, they would just give it full force. Like, this is my time slot. I'm gonna make the most of it. They got creative. They're like, all right, there's only 10 people. Great. Then I'm gonna make sure that they know that I'm here and we're gonna enjoy our time. And I agree with you. Like, I don't know, like there's something to be said to be able to take your craft and make money off it, but there's definitely that it comes at a cost. At some point, I think it's an uneven cost, right? You see people that find success early on in their lives, or
Well, there is something to say for that, but I always tell people that when I see people who gain success without really struggling for it, I don't envy them
no.
because
Right.
those people think that's how it's done. And so as soon as they face something really struggling, the wheels come off.
Yeah.
And they're like, but the world hates me. I'm like, the world don't give a fuck about you.
Right.
You just got lucky.
That's the
You
same
know?
thing like for a stand-up. Like the people who go out and they kill their first, second, third, fourth night, the first time they're gonna bomb at some point. And the first time they bomb, they're gonna go, well, this has never failed me before. What happened? Am I not funny? Did the people it's a bad room? Fuck these people. And then they get resentful. And it's like, no, you didn't take your lumps, you didn't put your time in.
Yeah, I heard a great story from Bert Kreischer, who's talking about he was doing stand-up for like 2-3 years, and then he got a deal, I think, with Travel Channel, or maybe it was something else. He basically was going to go do TV. And Patrice O'Neill, who's a very direct and straightforward comedian, was like, nah, it's a bad idea. Bert's like, why? Like, I'm going to go and do TV. He's like, listen, man, you're going to go do TV, and there's nothing against you, but they're going to take it away from you at some point. You're going to lose it, and what are you going to be left with? He's like, you only got 2-3 years to stand up under your belt. Not going to mean anything. He goes, me? I got 10 years under my belt doing this. He's like, they can never take this away from me. This is my thing. He's like, so you go and play along with that. He's like, my recommendation essentially is like, do stand up. And he goes, and Bert was like, sure enough, I go and do this thing. It doesn't work out. I come back. I only had 2 years. I lost some time. He's like, I had to basically start over. And that's not to say that you can't go and take opportunities when they come. But
Sure.
It's one of those things too where sometimes people get bumped up to the big leagues too early. They're not ready. They're like, cool, you've been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a 1 hour special? They're like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like, and then they do it and they're like, that was terrible. I never want to watch it. Let's burn all the copies because
Right.
I wasn't ready
Well,
to do
I mean, some people make Star Wars.
it. Yeah. Right.
And but even George Lucas, there's that Star Wars Christmas special, buddy.
Yeah. That's true. Because there's also that too. Like, not to, pile on George Lucas, but there's that point where you get so much power that no one will tell you no, or no one will challenge you. They'll be like, yeah, that sounds good. We should do that.
Right. So you're just walking around on set and you're just going
exactly
Jabba all day
long. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the problem with George Lucas is that when you it's one of those things where, like, if you're doing really good shit, like if you're doing really good shit, and you're like, hey, I know what's gonna make this dinner really pop. And people are like, what? I'm like, I'm gonna make some heart attack mashed potato, and people are like, oh, those sound fucking great. But if you're like, if you get rich enough or popular enough, you can get a little lazy. You're like, you know what my secret ingredient is? Like, well, it's salt. And people are like, oh yeah, that's really smart. But you're famous. So, they'll be like, maybe he's just fucking with us. When you get really rich and really powerful, people just kiss your ass until it's too late and you shoot yourself in the foot because they also want that paycheck. So in Star Trek land or Star Wars land, he was like, hey, what would really make this ramen good is if I made it in, Powerade. And people are like, yeah, George, that sounds great.
Yeah, sure. Who's going to be like, hey, this guy who is one of the most prolific directors, who's created one of the most recognizable franchises, is suggesting something that maybe deep down in the back of my head, like, this maybe isn't a good idea. It's like, you can't stand up and be like, George Lucas, I disagree. He just pushes a button, you fall into the Rancor pit and you die. I mean, he's like, anyone else have any suggestions? No.
He's like, what if there was a rabbit that talked like a crazy person? And George, this sounds terrible. Let's make it CGI and have half the dialogue. George, no.
I want to try and make a movie without a protagonist. I see that as a challenge, so I'm going to do it in Star Wars.
Sand gets everywhere. It's really dirty. Let's shoot in the desert.
Man, yeah, that's a franchise that I've definitely fallen out of love with. Just like, you know what? Y'all can keep your Star Wars stuff. I'm over it. Good. Don't need it anymore.
In the chat, Tex, I think you just created a new character that is a fan favorite, Kermit Lucas.
That's my George. Like, okay,
or George the Frog.
Well, that's okay. My voice is really fucked up. So, like, when I do the height register, it tends to squeak and pinch. So, I do falsetto and it sounds awful. But when I'm really fucking exhausted, like, you have to understand when we're making a film, when we're making our documentaries, it's like 2,400 man hours. Okay. And we're sitting there at the very end of it. It's like final edit 8. We're sitting there in the rendering room. We are sweating profusely. We are just on no sleep. We're sitting there watching, like, okay, move that key from there, move that there. Okay, we got to move that back. Oh fuck, did that move those? Fuck, and we're just getting in that last minute. And you have to understand, it's like making a souffle or something. It's about to come out. It's fucking perfect. And there's that just little part of your brain that's like, what if I dropped it just for fun? Just to see what would happen. You know, what if I did something really retarded? And that's when my George Lucas voice comes out. So that's where I'll be sitting there like, wouldn't it be great if we just replace all this expensive music with MIDIs? and my editor's like, no.
Why would you suggest that?
Yeah, and so he goes, oh God, we've entered the Lucas phase, as he calls it. When I start doing the Lucasisms, and he just tells me to stop.
No, like I heard some really good, just very uplifting, inspirational corporate background music. I think that would fit really well with this documentary.
Yeah, and so I'll just be sitting there like screaming into the ether, through George Lucas's tortured soul.
That's awesome. That's good. That's what you call coping with the situation. I respect it.
Well, yeah. Gave up drinking, so torturing other people's psyche psychologically is what I got now.
Hey, whatever works for you, man. I mean,
yeah,
I recognize
whatever gets you buzzed.
So,
chaos.
tell me
Chaos.
about the Black Pants Legion mayoral race. I hear it's heating up.
Yeah, this was interesting.
Okay, so long ago in the BPL, when first of all, the BPL is a closed society. We are not open to the general public. It's a chore to get in. It is actually a quest to get in. It's like an alternate reality game. The ways in change. People have tried to find the way in, but once you get in, people tend to stay a while. And so once we'd grown to a certain size, somebody said we should have a mayor. And I was like, excuse me? And they said, we need a mayor. And I said, well, okay, what job would they have? To be the mayor. And I'm like, all right. How would we determine this made up bullshit? And they said, an election. So we set up an election and debates. And we had people come up, and our first debates are actually on YouTube. The BPL mayoral debates, the first debates are on YouTube. It's like an hour and a half of madness of people making the most insane arguments. One guy enters every argument he makes with, which it's the statement of, with a $10 you can gain by voting for me. Everything ties into, I am buying your vote literally for $10. Another guy just starts quoting Marx. Another guy threatens the audience. Another guy uses text-to-speech because his microphone broke. and he's responding with everything from quotes from Wikipedia. However, he's copy posting the wrong shit. So a lot of it comes across as really weird Wikipedia entries about King Leopold II of Belgium and removing hands.
Wow.
There is no, and so our first one is up on YouTube. It got like 50,000 strikes because they were like, "This is political. This is this. This is that." Completely nonsensical. Every single other one has been on the BPL podcast. So we have 2 debates on the BPL podcast, but you have to have a moral platform, you have to have a mayoral party, and you have to have your debate. And there's 2 debates, and then there's the election. The election is fraudulent. Every year it has had rampant fraud. the first year, we had 160 something people in the Legion, and over 1,000 votes were cast. Because a guy set up a botnet to cast a bunch of fraudulent votes. However, he set it up for the wrong entry and ended up botnetting someone else in the office. So then we had, and you have to understand, this is just what we do. This is like next level political shit posting. It is the worst sort of political theater. We are a bunch of morons. We have a saying in the Legion, none of us is as dumb as all of us. And it's just, this is what we do. So yeah, we have a lot of really dumb stuff we do, and we're very glad to do it. But the debates are probably our high art form for that. The debates are moderated. The questions are nonsensical, and the answers are some of the most precious things ever caught on recording.
It's amazing.
I absolutely love it. So what's the term limit? Like, is there term limits for a mayor, or do they have to be deposed?
They vary.
Is it a trial by combat?
They vary. We treat them like new mayor a quarter or whenever we can remember it. But you have to understand, one guy set up like a number station to get elected. So it was like ambient sound with weird shit. And at a call-in thing, one guy set up a cult called Deep Think. I wonder if his website's still up, actually. Let me...
Committed to making a website, too. I love it, man. That's commitment to the cause.
Good for him for committing to making... Because that's no small feat, so good for him.
Deep Think's... Yeah, hold on. No, Deep Think has gone down. But that one actually had... he also took out local ads. So his website and stuff were showing up.
The commitment.
Yeah, it was like the committee for Deep Think.
This episode of podcast brought to you by Squarespace. Build your own BPL mayoral candidate website today.
There was another guy looking at taking out billboard space because he found where cheap billboard space was. And so he was going to get his vote for blah put up.
Can you imagine just going by this billboard and not understanding anything that was on it? Just
right?
Like,
yeah.
What am I looking at? Like, I don't understand. But, to the people that see it and know it, they're like, ah!
Well, and making up a party is half of it. Like, I've already seen the proposed list of parties. There's a guy who wants to start a party with another guy who they both have Ford Focus STs. So they wanted to create the Focus Group. And their whole platform was like sick drifts. There was another party that was going to be formed just on the notion they were going to be called Team Racist, RACEIST, because they're all into racing and it's English as a second language. So they were like, yes, we are number one racists. We enjoy racing the cars. So, that way all the questions pitched to them would be like, are you proud of being racist? Yes, we enjoy Formula One. And just
that's so clever.
Who in your mind? Who are your top 5 racists? What do you guys think about that?
yeah, and the AJ Foyt. They were really they really surprised me with it. There's one guy answered all of his questions in like slam poetry. One guy started the Son of God party where he he said, I will die for your sins. And we banned him. He actually won. We banned him for 3 days and then brought him back as for his sins. And then he came back and he forgot what he was doing. He was like, okay, what was my next thing? And we were like, I don't know, man. You took this too far.
Wow.
That is absolutely bonkers. And the title is purely ceremonial. Like, this mayor has absolutely no
power. No. What they get is a special room that's their mayor's office, which is a room that they can get in and whoever they want to invite in there. And as soon as they do, we bully them. We all just go in there and start yelling at them like, hey, get the fuck out of here. And we start like changing the room name. And then the other thing we get is we sometimes let them choose the color of the Discord, which, they'll be like, oh, everyone has piss yellow names. And, that usually lasts like a day. Yeah, I mean, really no power. It's largely a ceremonial position.
I love it.
Is there a front runner currently for the race?
Not at this point. I will keep you updated.
Please.
If you want to see how the BPL election is going, I recommend listening to our podcast because we always put the debates up there.
Amazing.
And it's an international debate. There's a lot of people screaming at each other, and it's magic. I mean, it's absolutely magical. It's absolutely magical. You have people in all time zones. You have people of all languages, religions, and backgrounds all coming together to just epically shitpost. And
I love your community. I love your community, man.
I do too. I love the fuck out of them because, like, I have a bad day. I can go in there and be like, man, I think I'm having a bad day. And they'll be like, yeah, that's gay.
Come hang out for a bit. Be okay.
Yeah. Well, one of them's like, I mean, we inducted a good guy where recently we inducted a new guy who brought in, and to be a good legionnaire, you have to be really weird. Because a lot of we don't care if you make $1 million. We don't care if you make $100. We don't care if you are the mayor or anything else. It's in there. You're a legionary. You're nobody. And so social strata and all that just goes out the window. We don't care how much fucking money you've got. We don't care if you have a hot wife or a hot lady or a hot dude. We don't give a fuck. Legionnaire is legionnaire. And so one of the things was this guy was talking about an engineering project, and he was like, well, I had my work in this engineering project, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, hey, new guy, you want to take a stab at this? You seem pretty smart. And the new guy comes up and he goes, yeah, I'm a pretty advanced engineer. So I look at this guy's application. I know everyone's profession because we do keep all that information rather safely guarded. And so I look at this profession. I know he works in a bowling alley as a bowling ball technician. And this guy goes, yeah, I'm an engineer. And I was like, that's right. New guy's the highest tier of engineer. There's like satellite systems engineer, and there's like comms engineer, and there's like oil and petrochemical. Up there at the top, bowling alley guy. And the guy's like, yeah, you got to know your balls, man. And so this bowling alley guy is just bullshitting all these other engineers, and we're all laughing. It doesn't matter who you are. It's all about just laughing and having a good time and shit posting. I mean, that's the core of the group. That's the butter of it.
E207 goes, as a millionaire with a hot wife, I feel attacked.
Picture it didn't happen.
I'm sorry. As a millionaire mayor, I don't know if I said that. A millionaire mayor with a hot wife, I feel attacked.
Well, Your Honor, I think you're a liar.
Your name is liar because you tell lies.
Yeah. I'll say this too. If anyone of the political candidates want to take out ad space and run ads on Mind Gap Podcast, you let them know that we'll talk to them, and we'll put it out to our small but mighty followers as well, so they can have no voice in this.
Okay. No, I mean, this is exactly the thing that appeals to these guys.
Yeah.
Is meaningful ways to waste money. Absolutely. I think I'd be like, well, you have to understand, we do make attack ads. There was one guy whose whole attack ad was like, I think it was like, you can't trust him. He's not who he says he is.
About himself?
Yeah. It was, we had people accusing each other of funding terrorism. I mean, and people were making attack ads that were just brutal. Like, they were taking the guy's pictures and photoshopping them and putting them in with Stalin and stuff. And they were like, one vote for this guy is a vote for Stalin, and I mean, that's who we are.
Holy shit.
That's amazing.
Funny.
Well, please.
Oh, we're nuts.
Please keep us posted, because I would love to know the outcome. I think this is it's going to be in the front of my mind for the next few weeks at least.
Oh,
the BPL debates are the foundation of our retardation, and we will not have them move for any reason.
I love it.
Holy crap.
As we kind of make our way towards wrapping this up here, the big thing I want to pick your brain about, Tex, is Justin, our very own Justin, is brand new to the world of like role-playing games. You know? So what I've envisioned is I've slowly, we do what I call the D&D Lite, which is Dungeons and Dragons, a fantasy board game. We stream that like once a month, and Justin's played with a couple of the folks who've never really played Dungeons and Dragons before. It's not fully Dungeons and Dragons, extremely linear. It's kind of limited what you can do, but it gets you the idea of like what's possible. And I've slowly, my goal is the next thing is to kind of build a one shot for him to kind of get his, dip his little tootsies in it, and kind of see what it's all about. But
dip my nuts in wasabi.
Dip his nuts in wasabi, which, man, that sounds really dangerous. But what I'd love to pick your brain about is if someone is brand new, someone like Justin, and maybe there's questions you need to ask him, but really at the core, like for someone like Justin who's brand new to this, doesn't know really much about it or what's possible or what's involved with it, what would you suggest for him? Or what if there's a typical game or a style or anything like that? Like what do you think we could get Justin into?
Okay, there's the one. Do you learn by doing or you learn by being shown? That's the big first question, really.
I would say more so learn by doing.
Then just play the fucking game, bud. I mean, that's the best thing I can tell you is because like there's two approaches to D&D. Like I can show you a wide world of what can be done. I can tell you all the best crazy stories I've been involved in. I can show you 1,000 places on YouTube where you can watch all the pros do it. Or you can get lost in that magical moment for the first time yourself. Because it's like playing a tabletop game and having that first magical moment. It's like the difference between reading about porn and being in something dirty yourself. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, there is a wide difference. There's a wide world of difference. It's the difference between that visceral feeling of, oh my God, I'm doing this. This is great. It's that first magical moment of learning a new thing, of being like, hey, I don't suck at this. Hey, I have these skills. Hey, I'm coming out of my shell. This is great. It's like meeting a magical girl. It's like learning to play an instrument. It's learning another part of yourself. It's like learning improv. It's like learning comedy. It's like getting a genuine laugh from a stranger. It's so much more powerful than people give it credit for.
You're selling this real goddamn good.
I mean, as I dip my toes in, I was always scared of doing Dungeons and Dragons. I had friends in college who were like, dude, we do weekly Dungeons and Dragons. You should come play with us. I was like, nah, I don't have time. I was just scared. Like, I was like, I don't, I didn't feel comfortable.
Be not afraid of the dice.
Right? And I was just like, I don't know how to role play. I didn't know anything about that, but I was always curious. And then, I did improv for a couple of years. And then I was like, oh yeah, the idea of doing this is like way more fun now. And then it was just, for me, it was understanding the mechanics, but it kind of just, for me too, was like, oh, learn by doing.
Learn by doing. Break shit. Get dumb.
Yeah. Just be like, well, that was a mistake. Should have done that.
Well, I mean, the magic improv is yes and, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, so here's what you do. Create a character and then think, what would my character do? And that should govern everything you do. And once you play a character, like, don't just be like, hey, I'm just in the bard and I sing songs. Be like, that's gay. What you do is you come up with like, here's what I do. Here's what modifies me. And here's what I'm in for. So you just go like, yeah, I'm Torrigar the Dwarf. I'm here to get fucking rich. And I'm in for coin and cleavage. And so if you let those simple things dictate all of your decision,
right,
then you can play this character that's really funny or really crazy. You can be like that guy in the Wild Bunch who just wants to get out with the gold. You can be like that guy who's like, you know what we got to do? We got to steal that gold. We got to rob that train. We got to bust that guy out of jail. You can play a schemer. You can play a scoundrel. You can play a hero. And even if you have a character that's like dump stance and is really dumb, lean into that shit. My best character I ever played, one of my best characters, was a paladin with 8 intelligence. That is like stunningly average from a very powerful person. So I just played him dumb as rocks. It was great. You'd be like, Yes, Palor has come to bless you. I'd read you the holy book, but I struggle with some complex words.
No, that's true. Like, one of the guys in our chat, Noah, who we plugged earlier, he's always told me, and Noah, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. He's like, I don't really do it for, the mechanics. I do it for the role play. I always thought that was really fun. Like, just to, because it's a part of me, the part that I hold on to, which I want to shed, is the metagaming aspect of it, right? Like, I have a hard time being like,
because there's I know what you're saying. There's role players and there's ROLL players, people who are in that to just roll them dice and say, I want to be that guy that kills the whole party with the first level, blah blah blah.
Yeah, you want to be tactical. You're like, you don't want to, it's like, well, my character wouldn't see this, but I want to win, or you like, I want to have the best rolls, but sometimes the worst rolls are the best rolls, because what comes after is amazing. I had it was a Goliath, which is like an 8-foot character, try to just basically climb up over a ledge that he could see over. He was tall enough, his head was probably popping over. He failed twice to do it. So he was like so excited, he was like, slipped and fell down. And then he tried it again, same thing. It's like, here's this barbarian, this very athletic, very strong guy who can't hurl him, he can't push himself up over this ledge. And it made for a wonderful moment where everyone laughed at this very Schwarzenegger-like guy that just can't do the basic thing. And it was just very entertaining to see, what would happen.
I mean, that's the joy of D&D, is the shit your characters can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just lean into it. And then this character tells its own story, really, in the end.
Or, there's a guy that was trying to persuade, he was a dragonborn trying to persuade a dwarf to get a higher price on a gem, and he rolled poorly. I was like, all right, so how do you think this goes? He's like, I figured for someone of your kind, this would be, he basically turned racist, turned the dwarf. And I was like, and he played it, he leaned into it. I was like, this is phenomenal. Like, there was another time he got mind controlled, or he got charmed. And he totally leaned into it. Like, instead of being like, oh, my guy shrugs it off, he goes, no, this guy that's charming, this enemy is my best friend. And I'm going to hurt all of you other guys because I'm charmed right now. I was like, that's how it's done. Like, you're leading into it. And
you got to lean the fuck into that. And it's like one of the things that I really enjoy is playing dumb as fuck characters and goofy as fuck characters, or just stuff that's different. Like, play a paladin who's too dumb to realize that, like, animated skeletons are evil, and just like go try to talk to him and be like, hello, my bony friends. Have you heard the good news?
I'm like, will you attack it?
Oh, no, please. He's just lost.
Tell me your problems. May I help you?
He's scared and malnourished. Give him food.
Yeah,
I just say he's all skin and bones.
A bad joke guy. I love it.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. I think, especially now more than ever, this stuff is so accessible, and it's very easy to get into it. And I think it's even more easy to do it remotely nowadays. Do you prefer remote, or do you prefer in-person text?
Depends on the company. There are some people where I like for the first game, it's not a bad place to sometimes be like, oh, yeah, I'd like to see you over the camera. Because I've been to some people's houses where they're like, this is my original character, and here's my 3-ring binder, terrible shit, and I'm going to shovel it out to you for 6 hours. And I'm like, oh,
can't fake an internet connection here. I'm literally here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a guy who was like, yeah, I come up with a homebrew game, and could I offer you guys some refreshments? And I was like, yeah, sure. What do you got? And he proceeded to start eating a big jar of pickled eggs for the next 2 hours.
Oh boy. That's no bueno for anybody.
Oof.
About 3 hours into the game, when you realize the DM is trying very hard to breathe very light so he doesn't push a very wet fart through his pants, you're like, I've had enough of this realm.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know it. I know farts.
Or was it more of a? You guys couldn't hear that, but the audience could. Cougar one that Tech shared with us earlier.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Noah says I'd eat pickled eggs if Tex told me to.
Well,
Yeah.
Noah,
That's the effect.
You can eat whatever you want. You can eat whatever you want.
I've got an idea for a character called the Skeleton King.
Ah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Tex,
Yeah.
can we play together?
Yeah, sure. No problem.
I promise he's not overpowered.
For the record, Skeleton King is a part of our vernacular now. I hope you know that.
Yeah, it's
About every 2 shows it comes up. Yeah.
It's been kind of leaked out of my podcast. People have restarted referring it to as the Tale of the Skeleton King. A guy did a song called The Skeleton King that got sent to us.
Of course it did.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's that kind of mad trip power fantasy, and you realize it's a lot more pervasive in fiction than you think. Because like I've seen people just start using it as like, oh yeah, well then the bad guy Skeleton King's these guys by just saying he shows up and he forces them to do what he wants with just no reason.
He breaks your hands.
I break your hands. Still a better D&D DM than I had for about half of college.
That's sad. That's really sad.
Oh my god. There is one RPG that I've been very curious to play. And I don't know if you guys have ever played it. I'm struggling to remember the name. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's called
Welcome to the Throwdown. Shut up, me.
the cooler me's here now.
Oh, love it. Douglas, are you ready?
Real quick, Jared goes, that would be a good fake movie poster. The Skeleton King Chronicles, Book 1, Adventure 1.
I break your hands.
I break your hands.
I break your
Act
hands.
1, I break your hands.
Fade in. Hands up woken.
Break in. Broken hands, grasp sword. Weak for his hands is broken. Dun dun dun.
I can't lift this, my hands are broken.
He exclaims, but useless, cause hands are broken.
Hands up woken.
You think they get that his hands are broken? Let's do a couple more just to make sure.
Oh my god. All right,
Yes.
what do you guys got for me?
Justin, I'm ready.
All right, you ready? Here we go.
I'm ready. This week's throwdown is King Shark versus Groot. Don't know who King Shark is? Have you seen the Suicide Squad trailer, the new one? Because he's in it, and he's chomping up people.
He's
And,
also voiced by Sylvester Stallone.
I did not know
Ew.
that,
I did
Oh, yeah.
not know that.
and now I do. Jared is right. King Shark is a shark.
Okay.
That's well done, Jared.
Thank you, Jared.
Shark
Leave it to
versus-
the Australian to school us on sharks.
Shark versus tree is the question.
Yes, more or less.
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct.
Well, sharks are
very true.
apex predators.
They are.
Sharks are apex predators.
Based on his powers, King Shark's powers and abilities, he has unique physiology. So,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
I'm presuming this is not a shark that like is sea dwelling.
Right.
I'm presuming this is a land dwelling shark.
Yes. So
Which certainly, yeah. Mm.
he insists that his father is the shark god. Others state that he is a wild man, a race of humanoid animals. Government officials state that he's nothing more than a savage mutation of a genetic experiment gone wrong. He has amphibious nature, so he can survive indefinitely underwater. He has claws, super strong claws. He has super strong teeth. He has superhuman strength. He also has superhuman stamina. When driven to
like the best of them.
he can fuck like you can't believe. When driven to a frenzy, such as there's blood in the water, he is nearly unstoppable. And he has animal empathy. He's able to sense and call out to his shark cousins to come for him, although he's unable to actually control them, especially when they are filled with blood frenzy. He's also an expert swimmer.
This is like a character written by an 8-year-old. No, it really is. My friend, he's a shark, but he's a lawyer, but he's a shark lawyer, but he drive a Bentley, and he's really cool, and everyone like me. Pass. I'm gonna go with tree. I believe in moral. I believe in ethical, moral, and character reductionism. Groot is Groot. What is Groot? He is Groot.
He is
Self-explanatory. I get it. Groot is Groot. King Shark has like a baseball card backing, which is like King Shark, king of the sharks, also a shark man, also strong claws, and he fight people. No Skeleton King OCs. I'm going with Groot.
No, I think that's fair. I think this has been brought up, which is that, sharks are carnivorous, right? And Groot is a plant. So does that automatically make him be like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if he's fighting for his life, he doesn't care. But I mean, is he going to be antagonistic? I don't know.
Well, yeah, but Groot is also a living being as well, right?
Mhm.
So yes, he's a tree, but he's also a living being. So would that not fall into the carnivorous?
Well, I mean,
trees are living beings, but I've never seen a shark eat a tree.
Yeah. I mean,
you've never been to Australia, then?
Boom.
No. I mean, the thing that scares me about Australia is they'll have like a fucking spider the size of a trash can, and you'll be like, "What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, that's Jake."
Comes around first of the month,
Every once in a while, Jared will send me stuff on Instagram of spiders in Australia, and I hate him for it. I love him, but I hate him for it.
Yeah, it's wild.
Look, based off of what Groot can do, all of he can like control his size. He can make his hands into blades, and he can control all the flora around him. He's got healing power, super strength, durability. There's no match in this.
Well, not that we've also seen Groot in the cinematic universe take his arm and extend it, so he can basically have a ranged attack.
Absolutely.
And as some folks have talked about in the chat already, I think what is it? Frito says sharks die from harpoons, wooden harpoons. So, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. He just whoosh, yeah, game over. King Shark is a shark. That's right. Jared keeps bringing that up.
I mean, also sharks, I'm sorry, but I think I'm gonna hand this to the plant guy. The plant guy.
Slotty goes, wait, so DC didn't make a ridiculously overpowered character?
No.
Yeah, not this time around.
No.
Yeah. So we're saying it? Are we saying it?
Groot for the win, baby.
Groot for the win!
That was decisive. I like it. It didn't take too long. It was to the point. And I think it was right. So well done. Well done all around for everyone. Tex, that was a blast, man. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
No problem. I mean, this has been fun. It's fun catching up, talking about things in these COVID times.
Of course.
And I'm sure we're all before the sickness. I'm sure we're all really enjoying this magical time. What was it? It's where what was it? 57 weeks into our 2-week to flatten the curve.
Still working on it.
Still working on it. Yeah. America, still working on it.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting day. It's an interesting day. It's an interesting year. But I mean, I think we've learned a lot. I think we learned a lot about who we are as a person, being all batty and indoors. Because I've watched the wheels come off a lot of people's lives this past year, and I've watched a lot of people find strengths they didn't have. Like they were like, I did not know I can actually cook my own food. I did not know I know how to read so good and be like books, and people are finding a lot of new strengths. So, I mean,
yeah, I find myself fortunate because this lifestyle suits me, being indoors and doing stuff that I do both for my job and otherwise. So, but I also feel for the people that this is their kryptonite, because I often joke, I'm like, what if the tables were turned? It's like, hey, Doug, you have to spend 12 hours a day in a room of 40 people doing networking, and you have to talk to people for 12 hours a day.
How the turns have tabled.
I'd be like, ah. It's like, yeah, you don't get any time. Like, you have to be like around people. I'd be like, good Lord, that would not suit me very well. So,
no, and if you wanna like. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I remember going to the office and just be like, fucking kill me. Because, You'd go to the office and someone would be like, "Hey, can I use your microwave?" And I'm like, "Please don't." And then they're like, "Yeah, I brought carp for lunch." And they just put it in, and you're like, "Cool,
Great.
yeah, it's gonna be a great day."
Yeah.
Cart stuffed with broccoli. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
my
do,
broccoli stuffed carp. Beep, beep, beep. 6 minutes sound good, right?
Hey, you want to have some smoked salmon? It's salmon jerky. Here, they open it up the bag, and you're like, ugh.
I had someone who used to eat that all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Gross.
It's gross stuff.
Yup.
Yes,
Yes, it is.
But as we wrap up here, once more, Tex, please promote anything you got going on. If there's anything you'd recommend for people that you're reading, you're watching, you're listening to, please, the floor is yours.
Be good to one another. That's what I'm going to tell everyone. Take the time you have today, left over in today, and instead of embarking on a new venture of written word or binging another show or bothering online, take the time you have today to find your loved ones, whatever they may be. If it's a cat or a Groot or a toy or whatever you got, and just hold it near and dear to you and be in that moment.
Beautiful. I respect it.
I needed to hear it myself today too. I figure if no one else is gonna say it, I'm gonna.
I like it. No, I think everyone needs to hear that, and myself included.
Yeah.
Doug, be better.
See, there you go. We're doing that holistic healing shit in here.
We're doing it, man. We're doing
We're
it.
gonna sell some candles next.
That's right. Justin, what do you got to recommend?
Oh man, after that, I don't know, nothing. I'm just gonna say, find that loved one, and I'm not gonna say it with this silky smooth of a voice, but find that loved one, hold them close, and just care.
Yeah,
nice.
man. That's what
Doug,
it's
what do you got?
about. It's about yeah.
I'll steal one of yours, Justin. You haven't heard
There
this
you go.
music podcast? We did we were their guests on their most recent episode that came out this week. Richie and Wayne do a wonderful just indie music podcast. They're based out of the UK. We've been a guest on their stuff twice now, and they're wonderful. If you're looking to hear two guys that can break down a song instantly and tell you a lot of really good stuff to like about it, and also super silly. I mean, they kind of are. We're their US counterparts and they're our UK counterparts. They're phenomenal. Go check it out. They are constantly finding and trying to promote lesser known artists and bands. So that's You Haven't Heard This Music podcast. Wherever you find your podcasts, go follow them on Twitter. Go check them out. They do a wonderful show. Highly recommend it. And we had an absolute blast being on the show. We're hoping to have them on our show relatively soon as well. So go check them out. They're good dudes. We like them. Yeah. In addition to that, please don't forget to follow MindGap Podcast on all our social medias at MindGap Podcast. Check out our YouTube channel where we post all of our episodes as well as highlights from our show. And then on Twitch, twitch.tv/MindGap Podcast. Come hang out with us. We record Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. Tuesdays, we record our podcast live so you can hang out in the chat along with us while we record. Saturday nights, we do our video game stream. Come hang out with us, play along with us if you can. Enjoy yourselves. This Saturday, we're doing Among Us to check out that new map. So please come hang out, twitch.tv/MindGap Podcast. You can also find Justin on the internet as well.
That's true. On Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, please check us out on Spotify, on Google Podcast, on Apple Podcast, on Stitcher, on Podbean, Verbal, all the places that you go and find and consume the podcast. Share us around, like, subscribe, rate, review, all the good things. The big one is sharing. Just copy that link, send it out to your group of social people and say, hey, I like these guys. I think you'll like them too. That means a lot to us. And then 2east8th.com/mindgap. And then just keep an eye on all of 2 East 8th's stuff. We've got in another 3 weeks, we're doing the backers screening for Sid Penrose. And then after that, it should only be another couple weeks after that, we should have Sid Penrose out to the general public. And we've got Life and Debt of a Liberal Arts Major. That's very close. That's in the final legs of post-production. We've got, what was the one Drew just, the Peekaboo Man, which is a horror short that Drew just filmed. We're planning to film Crybaby Bridge, which is another horror short. And then Drew and I are both working on a feature film. So got a lot of cool stuff coming up this year. So please keep an eye on that.
So excited to see Sid Penrose and also see those other projects. So I'm very excited for you. And also Slotty did a good recommendation. Be sure to check out The Courtesy Flush, which is a wonderful show on Twitch as well. Go check them out. Great dudes. We really appreciate them. So
Yeah, and I know one of them.
you sure do. The one I hopped in there, I was like, "Hey, Wolves, Texas playing Jackbox. This should be fun."
Yeah, we oh god. Yeah, Jackbox is really fun.
It really is. It's really good. So that being said, Tex, thanks again. We're so glad you're here with us for this episode.
Thank you, buddy.
Honored, and my honor as well. Thank you.
And Justin, I want to say thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Twitch, thank you.
Listeners, as always, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.